Yo, what's up, guys? It's La Pod Gods. I almost said it was the best friends show. I'm not gonna lie. I'm the moral compass, Mark Poulton. With me, the main event, or is he the pod prophet, Phil McNulty?
It's whatever they. I figured it'll go back to the main event next week, but we had to continue the pod profit gimmick from last week. See if it continues. If not, we'll switch back to the main event again for best friend show.
We got Darren Wagner in the chat. He's Team McNulty.
Oh, hashtag main event. It's coming
Come
back.
on, Darren.
There we go.
Leroy, he doesn't even know why he's here. He doesn't like wrestling. he can't quit us. We got Amanda B. I was saying I told them I was just waiting on you to go live because you like to show up right before we're about to go live. And
I was for 4:55.
Amanda was saying Leroy could fill in for you. that would be a show. So we got big news to start off the show with. It's that time of season where WWE has their biggest show of the year, and then they release poor employees, poor wrestlers. This year's no different. 10 people were released. Let's go through the list. Let's see if I can name them all.
Someone has to pay for that giant ship they installed in the Tampa Bay Stadium.
Yeah. So here's the guys paying for that giant pirate ship. Mojo Rawley, Samoa Joe, Bo Dallas, Peyton Royce, Billy Kay, Mickey James. 4 more. Who are they?
Was Kalisto one of them?
No. Kalisto, Tucker, and 2 more.
We got both Iconics, right?
Yeah.
Billy Kay, Peyton Royce. We did Chelsea Green. And
1 more.
We talked to Joe.
Yeah.
It can't be that memorable if we can't remember him.
No, that's what I was thinking. But what are your thoughts? The 10th one will come to us as we talk about this. Any surprises?
Not really. I feel like I think Peyton Royce, now known as I think Cassie Lee is her name now.
Mm-hmm.
I think Peyton Royce was the big one, considering they purposely broke up the Iconics just to give Peyton Royce a push, and here they go, just releasing her a couple months afterwards. But I think, honestly, of all the superstars that were released, it was Peyton Royce and Billy Kay who are going to get poached up first. And I think they'll be either on Impact. It's going to be either Impact or AEW. I think if they want to go back as a tag team, I think it would Impact is their best shot. If they want to go as single stars but can work in a team, I think they'll go to AEW. But my money is both on AEW because Peyton Royce is married to Shawn Spears, so it only makes sense for her to work again back with her husband. And both of those ladies would just be a shot in the arm to probably the worst division in all of wrestling.
Yeah. So the 10th person was Wesley Blake.
Oh.
So it's funny. Wesley Blake was part of the tag team. I can't even remember their name, but they were with Jackson Riker.
Oh, the Forgotten Sons or
so forgettable their name. So it's funny they were all taken off TV because of what Jackson Riker tweeted. The two other guys get released, and Jackson Riker is still with WWE.
Well, because we all know who was part of the former leader's cabinet, so I mean, it just makes sense that the one who supported him is the one who's still on the roster.
Leroy says you picked out the gayest shirt you could find for this stream.
Oh, you mean the Jim Lee trading card shirt? That's amazing.
Leroy, you don't like Jim Lee X-Men?
That's the greatest generation of X-Men.
Yeah, wow. I'm for a loss. I'm at a loss for words. But like, so I think the biggest surprise to me, Samoa Joe. First, I think he's great on commentating, but I feel like, WWE doesn't think he has anything left in the tank as a wrestler, but I certainly do, and I think he still has that fire too, that he wants to get back in the ring.
Yeah, it only makes sense that he shows up on Impact, right?
Yeah, as soon as it happened, I tweeted you and I said, just imagine this: Kenny Omega wins the belt at Rebellion, and then later this summer at Slammiversary, he defends against mystery opponent. Who is it? Samoa Joe returns home, wins back the Impact and TNA titles from Kenny Omega. I think it's no, I think it would be perfect.
I think that's the best way you can have it, because especially upcoming the Violent by Design coming up at the next Impact pay-per-view. It's Violent by Design versus what seems like the TNA OGs. It only
Yeah.
makes sense if Samoa Joe comes back to bring it. And really, he's the only guy with the gravitas who can beat Kenny Omega on that roster.
Yeah, as far as like male superstars that were released, I feel like he's the only one that can make a big impact.
No pun intended.
Yeah. Johnny Cage says, "Did they fire Nia Jax?" No, Nia still has a job. She's the tag team champions with Shayna Baszler, right?
Yep. Which that's see, if I'm a female wrestler, I'm a female cut. If I'm Chelsea Green, imagine that she's going to go to Impact just to be. I think not. It just makes sense to be with her, with Matt Cardona, her partner, and plus it's just going to make that division is just going to be filthy. I think it'll also be the replacement for Jordan Grace as Jordan Grace leaves for greener pastures.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense for Chelsea Green. She's engaged to Matt Cardona. Deonna Purrazzo is her best friend. But I could also see AEW wanting her to stack up their division.
Yeah, I think the females who were released, this is a blessing for them. I don't see Kalisto making any of those two rosters. I don't see him going to Impact, or because he can't cut it on the mic to be an Impact, and he can't match the in-ring quality of AEW. Bo Dallas,
but he can do lucha stuff.
Oh boy, forget about him. Bo Dallas, I think he is not gonna. He'll probably be in like an MLW or an ROH. I think he may go into a backstage role. Someone. I think his in-ring career is probably done at this point. Wesley Blake, don't know where he'll be. He's probably gonna have to work himself way in the indies again just to get on something. But I just see the Iconics, Chelsea Green, and Samoa Joe being easily picked up.
I could see Wesley Blake reforming his tag team, his Forgotten Sons tag team, because his partner is Deonna Purrazzo's boyfriend.
Well,
yeah.
It looks like the majority are going to Impact if they put money on it.
Yeah, AEW is pretty full as it is. I could see them
their male roster. There's no more room at the end. Ethan Page can't even get on TV back-to-back weeks, and he's such a good talent. It just makes you realize that he probably should have stayed with Impact.
Yeah, speaking of Ethan Page, let's go into Impact and talk about his former partner, Josh Alexander. But first, Amanda B says she has these cups. Yeah, these are my favorite. So we start off the show, Josh Alexander against TJP in a X Division matchup. I really like that they're rebuilding the X Division, and Josh Alexander seems to be one of the guys they're building it around. It's funny that Ethan Page leaves Impact to go to AEW to be a singles competitor and ends up getting put in a tag team with Scorpio Sky. Meanwhile, his partner, Josh Alexander, is now a singles star.
Speaking of Josh Alexander, I didn't know if he had the mic skills to actually, or the presence backstage to actually warrant being the head of the X Division. But when he came in on that Swingers Casino segment, he really showed, like, him with just the jeans and the wife beater and you just got to see all the tattoos he actually has, like, on display, and the gold watch. It made me realize this guy's pretty ball and badass to come into the backstage scene. TJP just does nothing for me. Excellent in-ring performer, but it's not like he's a Ray Phoenix or Penta who is that good. He doesn't need to be on the mic.
Yeah.
So this is a good win for Josh Alexander, and man, that finisher is just that double underhook pile driver is just nasty.
Yeah, it's funny. TJP has all the talent in the world, but he's just pretty much been treading water the whole time he's been in Impact. Like there's never been anything really for him except maybe like, is he manic? Yes or no? Which, but I think it's time to start showcasing the newer guys like Josh Alexander, and it looks like it's going to be him versus Ace Austin coming up for the X Division title.
It's going to be an amazing match. Guys
Yeah.
who are just incredible at what they do.
Yeah, absolutely. Match 2, we get Crazy Steve with Decay against Carl Anderson. He has Doc Gallows out with him. This is just a little program they've put together while FinJuice is off in Japan. They needed something for the Good Brothers to do, so let's pair him up with Decay.
I don't get the booking. I don't get Carl Anderson does not need a distraction finish to beat Crazy Steve. He just doesn't. If they're setting it up for them to lose against FinJuice, so he's having struggles against someone like a Crazy Steve, maybe that's the setup. But I was just a bit confused by the booking on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think the wrestling fan knows you put Carl Anderson against Crazy Steve. Carl Anderson is winning, no contest. Mm-hmm. Especially when you consider Crazy Steve is basically blind. Leroy says this show is about wrestling, no cups or Tupperware talk.
Yeah, Leroy. It's something we agree on that one, okay. I love you, Amanda B.
So next up, Tenille Dashwood has her own talk show, and I actually think this is the best use of her since she's been back at Impact. So she has her own talk show, and the guests have to interview her. So she, I don't know. I found it funny.
This is a great idea with the wrong person.
Yeah.
Tenille Dashwood has she has the same charisma as a brick. And Caleb with the K has the same acting ability as a brick. So the segment, as creative as it is only as good as the participants in the segment, and that's where the segment fell for me.
So they had Gia Miller as their first guest, and it was not so much with the questioning, just the absurdity of it all that Gia had to interview her. But I don't know. I liked it. I know what you're saying. Tenille doesn't have the most charisma, but I don't know. Maybe she'll get better as it goes on. Amanda B says TMC is branding. Yeah, I'm a Tupperware influencer.
I also agree with Johnny Cage earlier in the show when he said Joe was always a victim of poor booking. Just to hark back on that, I totally agree, Johnny Cage.
All right. Next up, we have Jazz's retirement speech. So Jazz lost at the pay-per-view to Deonna Purrazzo, which means she had to retire. As she's doing her speech, Fire and Flava come out. Speaking of the Iconics, imagine them coming to Impact and feuding with Fire and Flava. I think that would be good stuff.
That's going to be that again. The Iconics lucked out on these releases, lucked out because we're in a renaissance again for female wrestling. I think WrestleMania kind of helped reestablish that, especially with all the new champions, all the young stars, and it sort of shows that there is a place for veteran female wrestlers, in today's wrestling world. And this was and veteran being, of course, Jazz, and this was a great twist on the retirement segment. When Fire and Flava came out, I was just like, is it's the same? I'm not gonna retire yet. I got one more match in me. But the fact that they fought him off, and then the rest of the Impact Wrestling, roster came out to say goodbye to Jazz. It was a really well done retirement segment.
Yeah, and then Scott D'Amore books Fire and Flava versus Jordan Grace and Jazz for the next pay-per-view. And Jazz says, "No, I'm going to honor my word, and I'm retired. But I have a partner for Jordan Grace. Who do you think it is?"
Chelsea Green.
90
Did
days
they have a
won't be
90
up.
day? Did they have the 90-day up?
Yeah.
I didn't know if these releases had the 90-day because they were released or if it was just a contract run out.
Yeah. 90 days
but
will be up in time for Slammiversary.
there we go.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't give a guess at this time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to say who it could be. Velvet Sky. I don't know.
Let's go for it.
All right. Next up.
It'll be someone like ODB, and we'll all be disappointed all over again.
Next up, we got my man Brian Myers versus Jake Something. This match was put together by Matt Cardona. Since they're Cardona and Myers are wrestling each other at the pay-per-view, they get to pick their opponents this week to sort of soften them up for the match. So Matt Cardona picks Jake Something, and Jake Something just beat Brian Myers at Hardcore Justice over WrestleMania weekend. They were, this was a hardcore blindfold match, and they were using action figures and stuff. It was a fun match. I went back and watched it, but this time around, Brian Myers gets the win, and in very like he looked very strong in beating Jake Something, who was someone they were building up for a while.
Normally, I hate 50-50 booking. Like, I straight up hate 50-50 booking no matter what. But Jake Something got the surprise win at Hardcore Justice and again plays the role of Brian Myers, who's saying, I don't win hardcore matches. I'm a professional wrestler. I win in professional wrestling matches. And he beat Jake Something clean as a sheet in the middle of the ring. And it was great to see. And I loved the fact that he pulled out Sami Callihan, for Matt Cardona, because the most professional wrestler who lost in a hardcore match gets a guy who thrives in hardcore matches against Brian Myers. It was like great 50-50. This is 50-50 booking done well, progressing the story of a character and with a surprising finish.
Yeah, and speaking of that, we go into the Matt Cardona versus Sami Callihan match. Callihan gets the victory. Callihan looks strong in this. Myers is winning this match against Cardona, I think, at the pay-per-view. He has to.
Yeah, I think, it's interesting because Impact does this thing where you think, oh, Matt Cardona is going to go over since Brian Myers won and Cardona lost. But I think Myers has to go over and he'll cheat again, maybe a thumb to the eye. And I think, it's good for Brian Myers. He needs it more.
Yeah, I have a feeling Cardona's not there for the long term either. And Myers, I know he's recently signed a longer contract with Impact. Leroy says, I'm debating how much Amanda will hate me if I recommend Crisis on Infinite Earths as an introduction to comics. It's my all-time favorite, big event comic. I love Crisis. I even talked to your dad about it, Phil. I know it's one of his favorite as well.
Yes, it is.
Did you ever?
It's for the continuity fans,
Oh, yeah.
I think Amanda would probably be like, "Why are there 3 Flashes running around? Why is one? What's up with this Kid Flash? Didn't you know what I mean?" I think it's one of those stories where it takes a lot of, it's not for the jump in, it's for the veteran fan, if you will.
Yeah, maybe as a precursor to reading that, watch the Flash TV show because they did a Crisis event, and my son and wife recently did a Flash binge, and they watched all the seasons. And when they got to Crisis, they were asking me about the actual comics and what happened. So, yeah, Leroy says exactly, Phil. Yep, it's for the continuity nerds out there. Let's see. So we talked about Cardona and Callihan. And then we get
Eddie Edwards calling out Violent by Design.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say after Callihan wins, he calls out Trey Miguel, and we get a little brawl.
Question:
yeah,
do you think Sami Callihan is the right guy for this feud with Trey Miguel?
Yes.
For someone, normally I'm the guy who just bashes anything Sami Callahan's in. This is the one time I'm really interested in anything Sami Callahan has done. I think it's the right thing to start building up Trey Miguel for this new aggressive streak, but keep him as a face.
I think this is the best thing Sami Callahan has done since he feuded with Tessa Blanchard.
Agreed.
Leroy says, Phil, you are his favorite. Wow.
Oh,
I'm hurt.
someone has hacked Leroy's YouTube. This is not happening.
So you're saying Eddie Edwards challenged Violent by Design. I don't have this in my notes. I have the press conferences next.
I know that it happened earlier, but it was just one of my favorite segments of the night because it made me really go back into the time machine a bit and see James Storm, and Chris Sabin running out, and there's Rhino in there, and there's it sets up next week's match between Eric Young and Eddie Edwards, and it's just really cool to see. It's all this TNA originals, but you've got a young Diener in there, and it just made me it brought back the feels of the nostalgia of TNA, and I really enjoyed that segment. It really shows you that Eddie Edwards is Mr. Impact.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm hoping we talked about this on Best Friends show briefly when you were saying when Eddie Edwards and Kenny Omega hooked up in that 6-man match. I think it was like the most exciting part of the match. It's a shame that he's not in the Rich Swann role. I think it would be so much better, but it is what it is.
No, again, Rich Swann was handed a golden goose on a platter, and he's just kind of going with it. He's not really making it his own. And even in the press conference, you realize he was just above Jerry Lynn on that one. If you think, and Tony Khan was great. Scott D'Amore really showed me something. We give him a lot of crap and shit on him a lot, but he sounded like a great executive on here. And then there was just Rich Swann.
Yeah. So here's the thing, though. There is no doubt Kenny Omega is winning this match because this is everything for Impact Wrestling. The whole show revolves around this match. There's no mention of this over on AEW.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know what is great about is they're slowly but surely Stryker and D'Lo Brown are becoming the best commentator duo in professional wrestling. Their entire show, not once did we not hear Kenny Omega's name. They built up to that press conference all episode long. They compared other superstars to Kenny Omega, saying, this is the greatness, that they can sort of want to try to tackle Kenny Omega. And it just made you saying, they said, this title match is going to be super competitive, just like the Kenny Omega Rich Swann match. They sold that match, and it reminded me to say, all right, I got to put this on my calendar to watch it.
Yeah. Speaking of that main event, they just announced Mauro Ranallo is coming in to call that match. That's pretty big.
Yeah, it's gonna be a hoot. I am so excited for this match. Will Rich Swann lose? Yes. Will it be a clean finish? No. Should it be a clean finish? Yes.
Yeah. If you think you're excited, just imagine how excited Mauro Ranallo is going to be calling that.
Mamma mia, a one-winged angel, and he kicks out. I do expect Rich Swann to kick out of the one-winged angel because that's been the story of this thing, is that no one's kicked out of it. Kenny Omega says, as soon as I hit you with it, kiss your title goodbye. And I think he'll kick out, and that's when the Good Brothers will come out and we'll see it.
Johnny Cage says, I wonder what Cornette would say about that. What are you referring to, Johnny? The Phil's comment on Stryker being one of the best commentators? I don't know. I personally enjoy enjoy them. I think they're great. I was excited when I found out Stryker, like when I saw him in the backstage segment, I was like, what? He works for Impact? Why isn't he at the announced booth? So that's it for Impact Wrestling. We're going to go into AEW now.
So AEW Dynamite started off with a 30-minute tag team championship match between the Young Bucks versus Death Triangle. The show opened up with the Bucks explaining their heel turn, saying they picked.
Oh, Johnny's saying Omega. Yeah, Cornette hates Kenny Omega.
You know what? When I was sort of out of wrestling for a while, the only thing that kept me interested in professional wrestling was this guy named Kenny Omega. And I just remember, watching things on YouTube about him. And he is, that press conference, he just was the star he is. And Cornette is way off the mark with Omega. I absolutely love Kenny Omega. And speaking of Kenny Omega, that was the catalyst for the heel turn for the Bucks. They're saying they chose family, first, and they realized that they're tired of putting everyone over. So they're sort of running back exactly what Kenny Omega said was his change. They're tired of just resting on their laurels and helping everyone else out. It's time that they get that motivation back.
I really liked them as heels. I loved Nick pulling off Phoenix's mask and throwing it into the crowd, and everyone act like shocked and how disgraceful it was. I thought it was great. They're great heels.
What I loved in this match was when Matt Jackson rolled over to the face corner and realized, and he saw Phoenix is there, and he went back to the other side of the ring. It was just a great little storytelling because they know exactly what the ring positions mean in wrestling, and it's just a nice little thing to not talk down to us as wrestling fans.
And they had Don Callis with him. Don Callis is one of the best talkers in wrestling. It's funny, the best talkers in wrestling right now, I think, are Don Callis, Tully Blanchard, and Eddie Kingston. And it's funny, they're all like older. Kingston's not on the level of Callis and Blanchard as far as like age, but I would consider him like a veteran.
No, you're absolutely right. Speaking of the total opposite of veterans, Jade Cargill versus Red Velvet, and I gotta say, as soon as Jade walks out from that back in her entrance, she is a superstar. This is how they should have booked it from the beginning. She absolutely is a rock star. It's scary how good she is on just like 5 matches in. It's incredible.
No, she's great. She looks like a star. It's a shame that she had she was paired up with Brandy to as her introduction, because Brandy's just like we've said it before. She's the kiss of death to everything that's been bad in AEW so far. But like when they started showing like little packages of her working out and stuff, I was like, oh, that's how they should have introduced her. And these squash matches she's doing, this is how they should have introduced her. Not pairing her up with Shaq and having her, go back and forth with Brandy.
The Shaq thing could have come later because it was really good. Because I really enjoyed that match. Shaq going through the tables. It was I was very sports entertained. It just shows you that this woman, Jade Cargill, has the work ethic that's unbelievable. She keeps her body in shape. She must practice wrestling all the time to pull off her finisher, which was formerly of Beth Phoenix finisher. Like the strength and the agility and actually getting so technically sound is just awesome to see week by week, and she is going to be a major player. I can just see it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
So next up, we have another rookie getting his debut in the ring, Anthony Ogogo versus Cole Carter. This was the total opposite of the Jade Cargill Red Velvet match. This match was just a stinker with one of the worst finishes I have ever seen in professional wrestling. A punch to the gut leading to a referee stoppage. Are you kidding me? Moral compass. What the hell?
So here's the thing. The finisher is terrible. I mean, he's a former Olympic boxer. They're trying to play up the punch. He should probably throw a punch to the jaw or something, like a knockout punch that like Ronnie Garvin or Big Show used. But I got to say, I'm loving my man QT Marshall.
I think what really made me hate on this match was later in the show, we see Tyson throw a punch that just looks snug as a bug in a rug. That
Yeah,
punch was the Cash Wheeler was just
yeah.
so good that this, and you can tell this guy, he's just so pulling back. You can see it even in his arm motion that when he goes for this punch, he quick pulls back at the last second. It's not fluid, it's janky, it's rough, and this guy should have stayed back in developmental a long time.
Leroy says it's okay, Phil. It's all pretend.
That's exactly why I get upset about it, Leroy. Is there's a lot. Listen, Mark and I hear a lot of shit, even from the comment section on Best Friend Show, about professional wrestling, saying it's fake, it's pretend. But when professional wrestling's good, it's because it's just like an Arnold action movie. We know he's not really punching people. We know he's not really shooting people. But when you make it look real, you suspend your disbelief, even just a little bit. That's what professional wrestling is, and it shouldn't be that bad. Leroy, this is the exact reason why professional wrestling gets shit on when Anthony Ogogo performs.
Did you see the previous week when they did the little promo at the Nightmare Factory when they had QT Marshall surrounded by his three guys and
Yeah.
just saying how it's not the Nightmare Factory, it's the factory. I don't know. They looked like a badass little group, I thought.
Like Nick Camarado, like throwing that paint on there, it looked good. It was
Yeah.
a really good segment. Anthony Ogogo is the weakest in everything of that presence. Even little Aaron Solo looks more cocky and ready to go than Anthony Ogogo.
Leroy says it's more believable than Spider-Man, though. Next.
All right, so next up we have Chris Jericho versus Dax Harwood in a really good match. I think Jericho's best match. We're seeing more face Jericho. You know Jericho's a face when the beard starts growing in. When he's clean shaven, he's the shit heel, but when he's got the beard, we know we're going for the full on face turn. Even to the point where they apologize for some of their best actions because now they realize they were bullies by getting bullied.
I gotta say, I like face Chris Jericho, and to be honest, the crowd treated him like a face the entire time, singing his theme song whenever he comes out. So I think this is a good role for him, and I love how Inner Circle looks now, wearing all black like they're badasses. It's good for the team, I think.
The thing is, they never. Jericho's so good. He just knows exactly when it's time to switch, and he knew that with the Elite turning heel, it opened up a big, empty space for faces to just grow in there. And he just once again is like, all right, Sammy, all right, proud and powerful, all right, Hager, let's go fill that spot.
Yeah. Did you watch him on Stone Cold's Broken Skull sessions?
Yes, I love, and I'm glad he said he must have dropped AEW like 10 times during that thing. He was not gonna let those entire viewers forget. Like he was letting those viewers know that, hey, I'm on a different company and you should watch it. And the ratings spiked up, just not the 200,000 that they would were under a bit. It actually gained even more viewers than that to hit over 1 million.
Even the teasers leading up to it when they would do like a 30-minute clip and Austin was like, quick, who's your two favorite tag team partners? And he was like, Big Show and Sammy Guevara. Yeah, two AEW guys.
I know, and it was good stuff. So
He's a great storyteller. Just everything he talked about was just so entertaining, just because the way he can tell a story.
It's why his podcast is my absolute favorite. Even when he was out of wrestling for a while, like I've always been just a Jericho fan. Following his Fozzy career, his podcast career, he's just like he's my ultimate favorite human being on this planet is Chris Jericho. So
yeah, even like the way he works in his commercials, like he'll be talking to someone about something serious. Yeah, and he'll be like, and I'm serious about this new meat by mail or something like
yes,
that.
it's Omaha Steaks. Get 15% on checkout using the code Jericho.
Yeah, he's the best.
So next up, we get a returning Chris Statlander versus Amber Nova, who I've never seen before. don't care to see again. But I think that's the whole point of a squash match.
Yeah, Chris Statlander looked great. I don't know why she needs to be part of Best Friends. It just, I don't know.
I think they've realized that her alien gimmick doesn't work.
Yeah.
And, that they realize if she's not giving it up, they got to at least put it in with someone like Orange Cassidy who shouldn't work in wrestling but does.
Yeah.
So I think it's just, and plus they're real life best friends, like in the real world. So if you're gonna make a face who really doesn't have mic skills, put them with a group that does.
I wouldn't say any of them really have like skills.
But I mean,
they have presence, I would say.
yes, I mean, Chuck Taylor probably has the most because he just cuts the, wrestling promo of, "Hey, yeah, we're gonna do this and we're serious now." But
Yeah, Hicks Villain says Statlander does stuff with Orange Cassidy on BTE. And I would say that's some of the worst stuff on BTE.
Next up, we get main event time. We get Darby Allin versus Matt Hardy in one of my favorite free television matches ever. This match was awesome. It was wild. It was chaotic. It was a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, this match was really good to the point that I started thinking, are they going to give Hardy the title?
They should have. You know what? He is big money, Matt Hardy. It's funny because right before this segment, they had, Christian Cage getting beat up by Powerhouse Hobbs, as part of furthering this Team Taz split ultimately with Brian Cage. Probably will be the Cages versus Team Taz at some point. But it just really shows you, Christian, he says outwork everyone. No one outworks Matt Hardy. That was really, really good.
Hicks Villain says there's an implied romance between Statlander and OC. And then he says Vicky and Nyla is the worst stuff on BT. You got me there. That stuff is absolutely terrible. But
Vicky and Nyla is the worst thing. Anything. They show up anywhere and it's the worst.
Yeah, my apologies. That is absolutely terrible. But yeah, that main event was incredible. You had the Hardy family running out. You had the Dark Order running out. So there was brawls. Sting even made an appearance, beating up on Private Party. So yeah, this was a great match.
And then Lance. See, this is all coming down to. Ultimately, I think this is all coming down to Lance Archer taking the title off of Darby Allin, and rightfully so. I mean, this match was incredible, but it's going to be ultimately the story will be Darby Allin has done way too much to his body, too busy defending it, that the heel comes in fresh, clean, ready to beat somebody up, wins the title, and it sets up the ultimate return. So I'm really interested.
Is Lance Archer a heel though? Like, because he sort of saved Sting. I have a feeling we're going to get like Darby, Sting, and Lance Archer versus some form of like the Hardy family, and then that's when you'll get like after they win, Archer will attack Darby and something to set up the match.
I don't think Lance Archer is heel or face. I think he's more just Lance Archer, which I appreciate out of a character. Just be yourself, whether you're heel or face. The fans will decide with who you feud with.
Yeah, no, he's sort of been that way the entire time. I guess when he first debuted, he sort of had a heel aspect to him, but ever since then, it's pretty been right down the middle. Shades of gray, I guess, which is perfect with pairing him up with Jake the Snake, who's always been like the shades of gray guy. Even when he was a good guy, he was like a devilish good guy.
Yeah. So that ended a very quick AEW episode. It didn't seem like a long watch because of that 30-minute match.
Yeah. Hicks Villain says Archer says everybody dies, living the gimmick.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love it. I'm a big Lance Archer fan. I wish he didn't lose to Moxley. My number one gripe on the pod god since day one has been the consistency of heating Lance Archer up just to have him lose in the matches that matter most.
Yeah, I would say my biggest disappointment with AEW was Brian Cage should have been the one to beat Moxley when they were feuding. Moxley was off TV and Taz was just running him down every week. Yeah. So that does it for this week's wrestling. Before we go though,
I got an announcement to make.
Oh, make it, please.
I acknowledge the champion of the Lapod God Wrestling Fantasy League, Moral Compass, primetime Mark Poulton. I acknowledge you as the champion.
It only took a week, but thank you.
So for all those, and it's the reason why I saved it to the end of the show. So I tried to sell people tickets to come to the show and have them watch it.
Yeah, so I don't know. We'll have to decide when we want to start season 2. I mean, if the season ends at WrestleMania, starting now, I feel like would be kind of too long of a season, and I don't think no one wants to do a year season because I know towards the end it was like pulling teeth to try to get statistics from you on what your team was doing.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. My team stopped wrestling. And that's why it was hard for me to keep up with it because Street Profits stopped wrestling. Team Taz stopped wrestling. Jericho wrestled only about 15 times since we did it, right? Who else was? I'm trying to think of my team. It just got to the point where I couldn't keep up with it anymore because nobody I drafted was wrestling towards the final couple months. It was crazy.
Yeah. Well, going into this new season, last year my strategy was I picked Impact guys because I figured they have a small roster. They'll wrestle every week. I think this time around you have to go with AEW guys because they have 3 TV shows now.
I was thinking that there's a clear number one guy who's going to get drafted first because he shows up on all of them.
Yeah.
Mostly.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. We'll bring Eddie Winkler in for this new season once we decide when we're going to do it. Leroy says he just finished his top 10 recommended books. Leroy, care to share some of them with us? Because we're we talk comics here too. We're 2 comic book creators. Yeah. Speaking of comic books, let's go down Leroy's list first. The Dark Knight Returns, The Long Halloween, which I never read.
You've never read Long Halloween? That's my intro book to everybody. When I suggest anybody get into comics, I suggest a Long Halloween because it's a Batman story. Who doesn't love a good Batman story? Mm-hmm. And the fact that each villain gets paired up with a holiday, it's super cool that you get an intro to Batman villains, and it's a good detective story. It's real. It's probably it's my number 2 Batman series, and I see my number 1 is later on in this list.
Man of Steel, Kingdom Come, Green Lantern, Jeff Johns on this. Jeff Johns' Green Lantern is one of the best, my all-time favorite runs in comics. Nightfall, which I also love. Superman Earth 1, Hush, which I love. Crisis on Infinite Earths, I also love, and New Gods.
Hush is my favorite, probably comic book series of all time. Like I love that. I love because Riddler being my favorite DC villain. I loved the twist with that. I love the introduction of Hush, the Jason Todd. Basically, that's the reason why we had the Red Hood, is because Jeff Loeb just thought, let's bring in a Jason Todd Clayface reference, and the popularity just talk about one of the best ones.
So, because I did not read Long Halloween, you're again Leroy's favorite. Yeah, wow.
and Nightfall. Talk about a 90s book that people, shat on early on when it came out. Now it's just taken on the life of its own. I think because something about Azrael and John Paul Valley, I think people wanted to find something to hate it, but I love Nightfall.
Yeah, me too. So, I just wanted to share Sea Dog and Codename Kill Switch, still in demand on Indiegogo. Probably wrapping up the book sometime towards the end of this month, but we're at $24,000. If we get to 30,000, all backers get a print of the Poulton verse. That's Graveyard Shift, Sea Dog, U.S. Assassin, and Viking Wolf. Viking Wolf coming soon once this book goes to the printer. But you can get Clint's cover or Dan Fraga's cover. Or if you want books 1 and 2, you can get the John Malin reprint. You can get all 3 books as part of our featured tier, the Triple Threat. Definitely check it out. Or if you want to spend a little bit of money, we got the Babe box, $200. You get everything Clinton and I have done so far for Sea Dog and Codename Kill Switch. That's all 3 covers to book 1, both covers to book 2, a sketch from Clint, a sketch from me, which, speaking of which, I'm going to have to get started on them. I'm going to have 27 to do. And get trading cards, ash cans, and a Sea Dog pop socket as well. So definitely check it out. Phil, I want to thank you for joining me this week. Also, Graveyard Shift just passed $81,000 today. So yeah, definitely check out Graveyard Shift too. Doesn't really need my help promoting it. It's doing so well, but yeah, definitely check it out. Hicks Villain says the Long Halloween cartoon is coming. Considering how they screwed up Killing Joke and Hush, I'm not excited for it. They made a Hush cartoon.
Yes, don't watch it.
Okay.
The Killing Joke animated cartoon, one of the worst, the biggest disservice to any comic book arc ever was that cartoon version of the Killing Joke. It was just terrible. Hush was, for some reason, they changed the ending where they made Riddler Hush instead of Hush. It's just it killed the whole heart of the story with that twist ending, because it's all about the Riddler making himself look stupid just to tell back, so you're just like, I didn't get it. It was trash. So my Long Halloween I'm not excited for. But will I be a sucker who watches it? Yeah, I'll be the sucker who watches it. Probably just so I can trash it.
All right. So that about does it. Amanda B says, I want an Art T-Bear print. That's part of the U.S. or the Graveyard Shift campaign. What stretch goal is that? I lose track of them. Art T-Bear, I swear. Oh, 90,000. Amanda, I think we're going to get there. We're at 81,000. We got 2 days left. I think it's a good shot that we're going to get it.
Black and white RT Bear, inker of X-Men RT Bear.
Absolutely, yeah.
Nice. That's a great. You're gonna get there.
Yeah. Also, in the description of today's video, I have Phil's Etsy store, so make sure you check out Phil's store and support him.
And thank you to all those who have gone to the store. Thank you who've actually inquired about the pieces in the Camden Comic-Con virtual art gallery. I will be posting those on the Etsy shop as soon as I get a quote from the printer. So for those who were inquiring about that, stay tuned. On Monday, I should get a price quote on those, and on Tuesday, they'll be up there.
Leroy says you need to go on Ott and stuff. You've been on there.
I've been on there. I think Joe and Sean will probably have me on there again, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
All right. I want to thank everyone who joined us today. Amanda B, Leroy, Hicks Villain, Johnny Cage, Darren Wagner. Yep. All the regulars. Anyway, Phil and I will see you guys next week. This Thursday for Best Friend Show.
Yep.
Yep.